salespeople are always like, you want to make sure when you're talking to your prospect, to your point, you want to position yourself as a person who's thought about everything. When you're talking about yourself as a hero with every feature, tell a mini story of how a customer you've had or that's using your product is benefiting from, from this feature.
Right.
It's not like, here's a scheduling feature, and the scheduling feature is really dynamic, and you can have a recurring schedule. Move on to the next feature. It's like, because of this feature, our customer was able to run their demos 24/7, and they never have to do them live again. Something that makes people feel like, I want to be that. So you're connecting them to a scenario that they can understand. Like, how does this apply to me in my everyday life? Welcome to ProfitLed Season 2, Episode 10, where we're sharing everything about eWebinar's journey to $1 million. My name is Melissa Kwan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of eWebinar and your host. I'm here with my co-host today, Todd Parmley, COO of eWebinar. Todd, how's it going?
I'm good. We're on episode 10.
We are on episode 10.
Double digits.
Well, so last episode, we talked about what happened after launching the product, assumptions that we made, good and bad, shocking surprises, reality setting in, and which, led really well into this episode, where it's like, what do we do next? And this episode, we're going to talk about the importance of founder-led sales, which was really just me selling one-on-one for 9 months straight.
Right.
And trying new things. And really how anyone can learn how to sell, which is something I really, really believe in.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time you said that to me. So I'm a product person at heart. I'm entrepreneurial, but I'm not a salesperson. I've never had experience with sales. I actually was in a sales job at one startup for like 2 days.
Like, how long ago are we talking?
This was when I first moved to New York. So this was 20 years ago.
Did they call them startups back then? Was that like the first, like tech bubble?
I don't even know. I mean, it actually took
pets.com?
me years to realize, oh, wait, I was working at a tech startup in New York. I had moved. But what was I talking about?
You were in sales for 2 days.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to forget it.
Yeah. It's a deeply repressed memory.
They took me out of it immediately because they knew I couldn't. So anyway, you told me like anyone can sell. I was like, yeah, whatever. And now I believe it.
I'm a strong believer. Anyone can sell.
I didn't know what you meant. Like there are very clear tactics that work that don't have to be disingenuous. They can be
salesy.
Yeah, or salesy.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to have a good product, right? That solves a problem that people experience in a way that they want to actually solve it. But I believe that now.
Yeah. I mean, I want to address that, right? When people are like, oh, I can't sell. I'm not a salesperson. I need to hire a salesperson. I'm just bad at it. Like a lot of people that say that have never done sales. Why do you think you're bad at sales, right? Like you've tried it for 2 days or you've never tried it at all. I think when people say, I'm not a good salesperson, what they're really saying is, I'm scared of selling. Like I have a fear of selling. I have a fear of rejection. I don't know how to talk to people. It feels dirty to me. I don't want to do it. Like that's not the same as I can't sell or I can't learn how to sell. And I do think I'm in a very fortunate position because my first job was in sales. I never wanted to be a professional. Like I never was like that good in school. Like, okay, I was good in school, but I hated it. So I didn't study, I picked all the subjects that had the least amount of reading. And so I was always trying to take these kind of shortcuts. And so a sales job doesn't require a lot of experience. Everyone's looking for a salesperson. So my first job was in sales, my second job was in sales, and all of a sudden I became a salesperson. I have been very fortunate that I have never had any other types of positions.
Right.
So it was always like biz dev or sales or something like that. So I take it for granted that I've learned a lot of things by osmosis. And like when you work for a lot of companies have sales trainings that they put their sales teams into. And then all my coworkers were also sales. So all my life for 20 years, for the past 20 years, I've been surrounded by sales speak. And of course, I wanted to get better at sales. So I read a lot of books on sales to the point where I no longer wanted to read them because then I was getting like information overload.
Right.
So I do think that my personality is really made for that because I don't want to do work that requires a lot of reading and like knowledge. I want to like talk my way through. But I do think having seen so many people that were trained up in sales that like you don't have to be the best salesperson in the room to be able to make a sale. Because sales is a science of communicating what you're selling in a way where the other person understands what you're selling, if that makes sense, right? Like I think
absolutely.
I think there's a discrepancy between what you're selling and what other people want to buy. And the best salespeople know how to align the two by using language, right? By using communication. So that's what I think sales is. Sales is not secondhand car insurance salesman, right? It's really the art and science of communication to help you understand the value by which I want to bring you. And that's why I think it's not sleazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what skills are there to learn? You know what I mean? It felt like there was just like either you got it or you don't for sales. And the idea that there are ways, there's like a science to it. There are formulas you can follow. That doesn't mean that they're canned. It doesn't mean that, you're being dishonest, but there are steps that you could lead someone through a process so they have the realization that what you have to offer them is actually worth them spending money on.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, when they think about sales, they think I'm trying to force something into someone's hand, right? What they're not thinking, if you reframe what you're trying to do is, that the product that you're giving them or a service is going to give them value. They don't know that yet, but it's going to help them. Otherwise, they'll ask for a refund or they'll cancel anyway. So you're not forcing them into someone's hand. Like this is not, especially in SaaS, it's not a one-time purchase. You're just trying to communicate benefit in a way they understand so they can embrace and capture that benefit in their business. So you're actually doing them a favor by explaining that to them, and they, at the end of the day, get to make that decision. So I think like reframing what you're trying to do can help people get over the idea that like, oh, I'm trying to like trick someone into buying this thing that they don't want to buy. They do want to buy it. They just don't know yet.
We ended last time with you're running out of money. Right?
Potentially. Yeah, not yet, but potentially.
But the end of the last episode, basically, the cliffhanger was we knew we had a product, but it was clear that the revenue wasn't going to come as quickly. And that was driving you into a very strong sales motion where you are going to be selling the product one-on-one. So, if today's conversation is going to kind of be all about founder-led sales, how do you want to start it? Like, where do you want to start? Do you want to just talk about what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think founder-led sales in its, purest kind of one-liner is like founder goes out to sell. There's different models of revenue. There's like, or growth. There's like sales-led, product-led, where your product does the quote unquote talking, which is what we're now, which is what MailChimp is. People come in, they sign up on their own. There's no human touch. There's marketing-led growth, customer-led. So there's a lot of these different models that have come up over time. But founder-led sales is the single most important and I believe only way to get a brand new company up and running. I don't care if it's a startup, it's a restaurant, it's a car dealership. Like as a founder, if you cannot sell your own product, nobody you hire is going to respect you. And in the beginning, you don't know if your product has a market. You think it has a market, but maybe it doesn't. And the founder is the only person who can, through sales, talking to customers, get feedback for whether the assumptions that you made, not just features, I'm talking like product, the assumption that you made that the market's going to need your product, is that going to be validated or not? And the only way to do that is through trying to sell this and hearing people say, yes, I'm going to buy this, and no, I won't, and here's why. And only through that feedback are you going to be able to sharpen your sales pitch, figure out the other things you need to build in order to sell, or figure out even if the use case that you've built for has any validity, or maybe there's another audience that you should be selling to where there's a bigger need. So all of that only comes through sales. And if you, the founder, is not the first person that's hearing this, if you're hiring someone else to do this, they don't care about your product. It's not their company. It's not their runway. It's not their payroll. They're getting paid. So they're not going to think about this 24/7 in a way you are. So founder-led sales is not just about money. It's about your product roadmap. It's about marketing. It's where you spend your money, right? It's, are you on the right path? Where do you go next? Right? And someone else is just not going to care about your product and your business enough to even think that far. A salesperson is just going to be like, yeah, nobody's buying it. And I've seen this happen. I've seen so many funded startups take a product they're trying to sell to just go and sell it and not give the feedback back to the founders. Because why would they? A lot of salespeople are not CEOs, right? They're not thinking holistically about the business. So it's like, well, I'm selling this mic, but nobody wants to buy the mic. But they're not saying to the founder, oh, they actually also want a mic stand. Before they buy. So maybe we should like partner with a mic stand company. So like that kind of stuff. So that's why I think it's the single most important function, the only function that a founder should think about after the product is out in the wild and your website is up.
And you're talking about going out and selling the product, right? Can you sell it? Like, I think a lot of times when people think about product feedback, they're like, oh, what do I need to do to make the product better, rather than what do I need to do to the product so that I can sell it? And that for me was a big mindset shift, because sort of as a product manager in the past, I was entrepreneurial, but when you put yourself in the CEO's shoes and you're writing the checks, and you, especially if you're bootstrapped, you know the money's going to run out, you make decisions very differently, and they're based on revenue.
Well, there's two things that could happen, right?
Yeah.
Either you have the right product and the wrong pitch, and it's a messaging problem.
Right.
Right? Like, people aren't understanding what you're selling, and this is where you have to get better at sales. This is where you need to take how other people are perceiving it and regurgitate it to them. Like, maybe I think that this product is good for demos, but they want to use it for onboarding, but I'm not talking about that at all.
Right.
So maybe I got to talk about that first. Or your product is not good, but your pitch is good. So maybe there's a disconnect. Founder-led sales helps you figure out, okay, like, is it a product issue that I need to improve on and change? Is it even a business idea?
Right.
Do I have to change the entire product?
Right.
Or do I need to enhance a product? Or do I have the right product, but I just need to change my pitch?
Right.
And if I have to change my pitch, how do I change it to which audience?
Yeah.
Right? A different line of business, a different role, a different industry is going to care about different things. So how are you going to learn what they care about? It's not one pitch, one size fits all.
Right.
Right. And I'm talking about this as, like, a more advanced kind of sales person would think about, like, changing this stuff.
Right.
But there is kind of a basic structure where you can communicate this and ask more questions to kind of develop your sales pitch.
Yeah.
But also, like, what we realized, or I realized, was like how disconnected we were from the problem we wanted to solve versus the problem they wanted me to solve. So I thought CS onboarding, training, and sales demos was the only three problems that were out there. What I didn't know was how prospects were experiencing that problem was different.
Yeah.
If I'm, if I'm delivering a sales demo, or if I'm delivering an onboarding, my needs are so different based on the price of my product, the culture of my company, the complexity of my product. And each one of those people need different things in the product and a different pitch in order to convince them that this is the thing that they need. So understanding how disconnected we were from actual users was kind of another layer to that reality check. And why that's important is further realizing that this is going to take longer than what I originally, anticipated. So again, how much longer is it going to take for us to get to profitability now, knowing these problems that we didn't know before?
So, I mean, what kind of feedback were you getting that sort of made you aware that there was a gap in understanding? Like, what specifically were you hearing? Yeah.
So I guess, like, a pretty good, like, I think an example that everyone can understand is, like, we came up with a standard set of analytics, right?
Right.
That we thought, webinar analytics, this is what people are going to want to know.
Yeah.
Like watch time, how many people register, blah, 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 right? Like really basic things. But depending on your role, you're going to want to dive into different numbers and see different things. And if you have a team, you're going to want to share that outside of your team. Some people don't even care about analytics. They're not really numbers driven for their role, or they're a single person, a solopreneur. They don't need those things. Right. So whether you have a big team or whether you're a solopreneur, these things have to get positioned differently.
Right.
And so for some people, like, they don't care that there are numbers. They just want the chat. So I think that was kind of the biggest realization, was like, how do I position the pitch to different people? But also knowing that, like, I can only talk to so many people at a time. Right. So I think I did one-on-one sales for like 9 months before, like, we started looking into, like, marketing strategies. So marketing, my friend once told me, like, marketing is like sales without talking to people. And I'm like, that sounds like the utopia of sales. How do I do that? But, I think it was only around that time that I started, like, hearing the same thing over and over. But at that time, we still had about a month after I did, like, one-on-one sales.
Yeah.
We already automated our demo. So we did have, an on-demand demo that people could sign up on their own. But if people wanted to hop on a call, I would do it. Whereas right now, there's no way that I would hop on a call. Everything is chat, everything is email. But back then, I still wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And then people were still referring me to their friends. And because they were their friends, I wanted to get on the call with them. So I did a lot of calls, ironically, for the first 9 months.
Well, how did you find people to sell to? Like, something so basic as, like, I'm a founder. Where do I start? How do I find people?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was lucky for this third company that I had two other companies before that, right? So I had, friendlies in the industry, like lots of, I was in real estate, so real estate tech. So I had a lot of real estate tech companies that I was friends with that I met at conferences.
Right.
I had lots of brokerages, franchises that were my customers. So these brokerages would train real estate agents on different products that they would use within the brokerage. So I knew that they needed this in some form or another. Right. And because real estate agents come in and out all the time, and I was in real estate, so a big part of eWebinar was really built for the real estate industry first. And so I knew how to speak that language. So before we rolled out, I made a list of every single person that I knew that could potentially use this product and kind of like peripheral friends here and there. And I just went down my email, went down my phone, and I emailed or texted every single person. I think there was like 200 people. And I asked them if they were curious to know what I was doing next. We'd set up a call. I tell them what I was doing and then ask them if they thought that their company could use this. And if they said yes, I would ask for a call with the person in charge of that function and then set up an onboarding call and like watch them sign up, watch them onboard with full knowledge that they were going to pay for this, like at the end of the trial. So, and then at the end of that, I would ask every single person for a referral until I ran out of that. So then I would like send them a forwardable email that they could forward to their friends. And I would like ask them to give me names on the spot. I would follow up. Like I'm kind of a bulldog with this stuff and I've just done it a lot, but that's how I got started in the first place. But the thing is like, I didn't always have that list. Yeah. Right. In my first company, my second company, I didn't have a ready list of people to sell to.
So what did you do then? Like if you were to go back to the very beginning, before you had a list, before you had,
just cold call, cold emails. I don't think anyone answered the phone anymore. Right. I used to call the companies like real estate developers, like brokerages, but like trying to navigate through the assistant and like try to like pretend I was a friend, text them on their phone. I did all that stuff. Right. Like that's how I built my first two businesses is like purely through cold calling and cold email and going to conferences and meeting people in real life, moved to New York, going for as many happy hours as I could go to and just like meeting people in real life and like letting them know that I exist. And then through that, I had an existing Rolodex for this company. And then of course, like I tried a lot of LinkedIn outreach, first by myself, and I tried to hire someone else to do it. I wouldn't recommend it. I have never gotten such vile like responses than through LinkedIn outreach.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And these were like one-on-one targeted messages. Like people are just like, how dare you like use this platform to sell to me? And like, I know a lot of people are now using like bots and stuff for that. You should definitely not use that because LinkedIn is like cracking down and like bans your account if you do that. But like, I've never gotten worse feedback. Oh my God. I think digital communication has made people like, I don't know, just angry, right? I think, or someone's having a bad day or they're angry for some other thing and they're taking it on you because you're right there. But LinkedIn was the worst. And I wanted to build my brand on there. So I didn't want people to be like angry at me. But I did try like more cold outreach because you do run out of your first degree and second degree audience. So then after that, what do you do? Like I went to like, some LinkedIn groups and I started adding people, like CS groups, sales groups, started adding people. Every time somebody talked about a webinar, I would comment on it to be like, oh, have you checked out this company? It's my company. Or I went into, there's a lot of like Slack communities that are run, like CS communities, founder communities. I was part of On Deck, which had huge founder communities. Right. So like I was not sleazy about it. I would only post if it was like, because a lot of these communities don't let you post as a vendor, but if somebody asks a question, then you can respond. And then there are certain channels where it's okay to do that. But I did a lot of that as well to get like more leads. And, I would like set up like fake discovery calls with people. In the end, try to get them to like look at the product and see if they'll
discovery calls for what? Oh, you mean discovery for their own product? I don't get it.
No, just like, hey, I want to know like more about, this is a bad example, but I can't think on the spot. Like I want to know more about how you grew this company in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And then at the end, it would be like, oh, what do you think about my product? Do you think your company could use it? Like I was genuinely interested.
Yeah, right.
But at the end, I would like slip it in there.
Yeah, but that's who you are too.
But I got some amazing customers from that. Like Agora Pulse was a customer that came from that.
Amazing.
Right. And then now Agora Pulse is like a case study. And then people like other companies are like, oh, do other companies use you? Oh, like look at that case study. So one at a time, right? And like part of founder-led sales is to be like scrappy, creative, and then leveraging your customers. Like now we're kind of like going to marketing territory, but like using your customers to sell your product and service, but also using it in your pitch.
Right.
Right now that I have like 2 or 3 case studies, you bet I'm going to use that in my outreach email.
Right, of course.
You bet I'm going to use that on my demo.
Right.
Like, by the way, these other companies are using it and I always get people on video. So I will get a customer that's willing to be on video, I ask them a set of questions that walks a prospect through like a close.
Yeah.
So like, what was your life before us, right? Like, how do you use this product? What's your favorite feature? What's your life after us? What, like, who would you recommend this to? And then I would chop up the video and put it on, a 1-page customer story, which is still on our site now.
Yeah.
And I would use that as outreach, whether it's on LinkedIn or email, or like I would send those assets to friends of mine and ask them to send it to people they think could use it.
Yeah. I mean, and by the way, that simple outline that you would send to people that was cleverly ordered to walk a prospect through the sales process also makes it really easy for the customer to actually make the video, because they just have to answer a set of questions. So I just thought that was very clever. I did
learn that somewhere. I forgot where I learned that, but and now people are like, oh, I've run out of ideas. How should I sell? Like I go on their website. I'm like, where are the testimonials?
Right.
Where are your customer stories? Do you even have customers? Like, get them on a call now and get them recorded. Here are the 7 questions. I'll post them on the show notes as well here now that we're talking about it. And like, just ask them. And then don't ask people to write you a paragraph. It's going to be bad.
Right. Oh
Ask them how to answer these questions. Write your own case study. Hire a writer. Do whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or write your own paragraph. Have them approve it, which is what I do, and then put it on your site. If they like you, if they like your product, like everybody wants to help. Especially if it's like, a small company trying to make it, like everybody wants to help.
Yeah, right.
So like that's the best way to leverage other people's voice and leverage your own network to get more sales. But I was doing that, and then that's how I was getting like majority of the calls.
So, while you were selling, you were getting all this feedback, right? You talked about kind of 2 types of feedback. You were learning about how to message the product, right? How do you actually communicate the value so you can get somebody to actually try it? But then you were also getting like product feedback too, right? Or about what the product needed to be.
Actually, I was also learning more about who my best customers could be. Because then I realized, okay, we don't have a training resource. We don't have any help articles. And the people that are best users of our product has someone who is the admin of our product.
Right.
So you could be a founder, but you're too busy and you want to use this, but you're just, unless you're feeling like the burning like desire to solve this, you're not going to solve it right away.
Yeah, right.
So if you had a trainer, for example, or if you had a team, you're more likely to assign this to someone. So I learned a lot more about who not to talk to, so I could focus my time on like, the medium-sized companies or like the small companies, but not that small.
Right.
So they could actually have a champion to like get this through.
Right.
And then they could also not just sign up, but they could like expand beyond the first webinar, which is like how we charge and how we make more money.
Well, how did you separate like good feedback? I mean, you were getting a lot of feedback. So how do you separate good feedback from bad feedback?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's always hard, right? I think like one of the hardest things about a founder is like you want to make everyone happy.
Yeah, right.
But you can't, right? So how do you decide on what to do and what not to do? And I think like if you ask for 10 pieces of feedback, you'll get 15 that are different. You have to be discerning and ask yourself, okay, if I build this, will I get more revenue? And will I get more revenue is not like, will more people put in their credit card, right? It's like, will people sign up? Will they activate? Will they have a less likelihood of churning if I had this? So revenue shows itself in a few different ways. Is this going to be a compelling feature enough for me to make the next sale?
Yeah, right.
Right. Or is this something that is so specific to this one person that we're going to spend so much time doing it? Like there's so many integrations that we say no to.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, I'm going to sign up if you have this. I'm like, well, how about you sign up first? And then, a perfect response, one of my sales coaches taught me is like, people don't hate saying no or hearing no. Don't say no, right? Always say yes. So if people are like, can you build this for me? Always say yes and be like, let me get a quote and let you know and send you a proposal and let you know how much that costs. 100% of the time, they'll be like, oh, actually, I'm not going to need that. So you're saying yes, you're putting the onus on them and they don't want to pay for it, right? Like I think a couple times you're like, yeah, we'll pay for that, but they never actually pay for that.
Right.
Right. And then if you really don't want to do it, then you mark it up to like some astronomical number. But, we're not going to integrate with one CRM. You can't threaten me into that.
Yeah,
right? We have Zapier. I don't want to pay for Zapier. Well, if you don't want to pay for Zapier, you're not going to want to pay for my product.
Right.
So it's also about like being willing to let go of people who say they're going to sign up if you have X. Assuming you have a good product, people that are going to sign up only if you have X do not feel the core problem enough to even want to solve it.
Right.
Sign up for it now, solve the problem, and I'll consider doing this for you.
Right. So how long was this process? How long did you sell one-on-one like this?
Yeah, I sold for like 9 months, only because I ran out of people. So I stopped selling one-on-one when I didn't have an audience anymore. Like I had exhausted every referral channel, like every immediate customer, people who were finding us were people I didn't know about. So I couldn't ask for any more favors. And that was about the time where I was like, okay, like, what do we do now? How do I expand this beyond me? And that was another shocking surprise because I had been in sales for like over 10 years.
Right.
And one of the hard lessons that I learned was people don't pick up the phone for a $100 product.
Right.
Like I used to sell enterprise. So every product was $10,000 to $100,000 a year. But now eWebinar starts at $100.
Right.
So I thought that people were going to pick up the phone for $100, but that's not how they buy.
Right.
Like if I reach out to them, they're like, they look at the website, they're like, why are you even calling me? Right? Like I'll just sign up on my own for this. Right. And so I like, that was a hard lesson, but also like, you realize a lot of the people you talk to are not ready to buy, even if it's a good product, because they have to talk to other people, they have to think about it. So it gets very, very demoralizing when you do 10 calls a day for $100 maximum potential and they don't sign up. So it's just exhausting. So I had to really think beyond that, for my own sanity. And ironically, I built the product to solve this particular problem. And now here I was running into the same problem, but it's a different problem because I was running out of leads to sell.
Just to hear what my perspective of all of this was while you were doing this is that you would come back and say, you were telling me what you were learning, right? And I can't remember how long it was before we wrote our first, because we were not using our product yet to sell our product. But I remember when it was like, when you were like, it's time. I know enough now how to sell this that we can automate it.
No, we automated our demo like after a month or 2 months, right?
Did we?
We did. But we ended up revamping the demo.
Well, I guess that's what I mean.
Yeah, we made a lot of assumptions because the first demo we ever made was really based on like 4 to 8 weeks of learning. The second demo we ever made, and it's actually surprising we lasted that long, because we had like change a user interface and like, it didn't even look the same anymore. But we re-scripted the demo after like 9 to 12 months based on the feedback that we're getting, objections that we were getting, and more geared towards all the questions that we were getting in the automated demo so that we could sell them automatically even more.
I had blocked that out, that we even had a demo because first of all, you were doing it all live, right? Even when you were
did a lot of them.
Yeah. So, but I do remember after that 9-month period and we did revamp it, we knew exactly what it needed to be.
Yeah.
Right? That was amazing that we built in all of the objections that people, common objections, questions that people had. We were able to incorporate all of that into our video and then able to actually automate it. And then we started seeing for the first time, really, it's selling itself. And that was exciting.
And the numbers were telling, right? Because I think the misconception is demos have to be short. Shorter the better.
Yeah, right.
And we couldn't make it shorter. Our first demo was like 18 minutes. Our second one now is like 23 minutes. We couldn't make it any shorter because we worked in everything that we learned into the script. Right. And that's why, founder-led sales is also important because you know what to work into the next script, right? And I remember like our second demo was longer.
Yeah.
People watched less time, like less percentage, but the conversion rate was higher.
Yeah.
So what it told us was it took less time to convince someone, because once they're like convinced, they go sign up. Their CTAs sign up. They don't need to talk to me anymore.
Right.
So that was amazing.
Right.
That like the conversion went up, but they dropped off way earlier than they did.
Yeah, and it was cool. We would, we added our sign up CTA at the beginning in a very like kind of subtle way. You can sign up at any time. And then we pinned it to the top of the video. So it was visible throughout the entire demo. That was one of our features. And people would drop off when they were ready to sign up. Yeah, I think our watch time definitely went down.
I also want to add this is like, it's really, really hard to get people on the phone nowadays. Our own customers won't talk to me. Right. If I wanted to say like, hey, I just want to learn more about how you're using this product. Like 9 out of 10 times they won't talk to me. It's insane. And sales is actually like one of the few ways that you can still get someone on the phone. Because like I think people are still kind of open to that if they're curious. And then when they're on the call, then they're willing to share a lot more.
Yeah.
But that's just like something to think about, is like, that's just a way. Like if you reach out to someone and you're like, I just want feedback on my product, people don't have time for that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably worth talking a little bit about how the sales process has changed generally. Just, do you remember that we used this stat from the
Trust radius
stat that they said 80%, 87.
88% of people want to do their own research during their buying journey.
Right. That they'll make a purchase decision without ever speaking to a salesperson.
Yeah.
And
the second year they did that report, it was 100.
Oh no! Oh my God!
And it was
really?
based on like 3,000 people that they interviewed. Like that was in the survey.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So we can share that report in the show notes as well. But that was very telling.
Yeah.
That like, I mean, there's such a disconnect between how we want to buy and how we want to sell, right? When we want to buy, we don't want to talk to anyone.
Right.
It's not just software. It's like you buy TV. It's like you don't go immediately to talk to someone. You like do your own research on Amazon or Best Buy or whatever. And then when you're ready, you go into a shop, you talk to someone, you talk to your friends, right, first.
Right.
But when we're selling, we're like, I don't want to give you anything. I need you to give me your contact information and I need you to book a call on my calendar.
Next Thursday.
Yeah, it's just like in my time zone, right? It's just, there's such a disconnect. And actually the report that you're referring to is called B2B Buying Disconnect. And it talks exactly about this problem, is we're not giving consumers what they want to make a decision.
Yeah, which also I think in the context of talking about founder-led sales means that it's going to be harder, right? When you're first, trying to reach people now, because sales has changed so much.
But now when people are like, oh, can I get a demo of your product? I just send them to the website.
Yeah.
Because our demo is everywhere. Our demo is a CTA of our website. And when I was weaning off those calls and people wanted me to hop on a call with them, I had this like perfect canned response. I was like, hey, I would love to do a call with you. However, our demo is actually delivered through our product, which gives you a way better sense of how your customers are going to see the product. And nothing speaks better than, being in the experience. Would you still want me to do a demo, which is not a live experience, or would you want to just go through the demo yourself? 100% of the time, they'll be like, okay, let me go through this and come back with you with any questions.
Yeah.
And they never have any questions they want to get on the phone with. So I gave them an option in the beginning because I wasn't sure, because like we were still not profitable. So I wanted to make sure that we increase our chances of converting someone. But it was surprising that even like friends of friends didn't want to get on a call. They were like, yeah, I'll just do this.
Yeah, but it's also really cool when you say, because we still get requests. People are like, they'll message us in support and say that they need a demo.
They'll be in our demo and say, can I get a demo?
Oh, well, that's different.
Yeah. I'm like,
that we can help with.
Archive.
That we can help with. But for the people who like contact us through support and want a live demo, and then they go into our automated demo, maybe even reluctantly, and then they can get questions answered. Like, it really is impressive.
But I also did this other thing because I didn't want to offend anyone, that when they wanted to hop on a call after they were on the demo, I would be like, I'm traveling, can't get on a call. Can you send me your questions? And if we really need to hop on a call, let's do it, or I'll send you a Loom video. 100% of the time, it's like, oh, do you integrate with ConvertKit? And how does the chat work? Like, it was just really, really basic things. And that's how I know I'm not going to spend my time hopping on a call. Like, they just want to know there's a person on the other side.
That's right.
But now it's part of my training a customer is like, I just outright say, we don't do calls, we don't do phone support. Like, I can help you on here. We have a team that's on support. Let me know what your questions are. A small percentage of people will be like, oh, then I can't sign up. Well, I'm sorry. Like, if you can't sign up without talking to me first, you're going to think that I'm going to hop on a call every time you pull that card.
Yeah.
And for $100 starting point product, it's just not worth my time.
Yeah, we're not an enterprise product.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go back to the beginning of where we started today. One of the things we talked about at the very beginning was how anyone can sell, right? This sort of idea that it's a skill that you can learn. So what does someone do? Like, I'm a founder, I'm a technical founder, maybe, like I have no sales experience whatsoever. What do I do?
Yeah, so I want to tell a story of when I started my first company, right out of SAP. That was the last job that I quit. I was like 27 or 28. And I was like trying different ideas and none of them really worked. And I was running out of money and I was like burning my own cash, right? And like I had a contractor who in the end became my co-founder, my first co-founder. But I had a product in my hand that I knew was going to work. So, and that became my first company, which was like an iPad interactive brochure for real estate showrooms. for sales centers, like pre-sales sales centers. So when you walk into a building that hasn't been built, you walk into this beautiful showroom, you have a reception. After you like fill your name on a piece of paper, they give you this like coffee table style book. That's the brochure for the building. We were the iPad version of that. So it had a gallery, had all the floor plans. Salespeople could log in and get all the inventory. Like, and it was on a new device called the iPad. And I worked in sales centers for like 3 years. Like I knew there was a need for this. And we were selling it for like nothing. We were selling it for like $5,000 for like an iPad app. And it was like beautiful. And I was like, when I say I was running out of money, like I was like running out of savings. I was paying this contractor. I had like 2 months left. And I was talking to my friend who I really respected. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And he was like, okay, like read this book called The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs by Carmine Gallo. Steve Jobs didn't write it, but it's a guy that studied his presentation style. Read it and craft your pitch according to this, and then let me know how it goes. So I took a week off and I read that book, and immediately I was like enamored by this, right? It was exactly what I said. It's the art of communicating. It's the art of communicating what you're selling to what someone wants to buy, because they don't always understand what you're saying. And so your job as a presenter, as a salesperson, is to align the two. And so I took notes. I crafted my entire pitch according to the structure of this presentation. And so that same week, I made my first sale. That was the first sale in my life as an entrepreneur.
Oh, wow.
I remember walking out of that office building like, thank God this worked. And at that point, I've been trying different things for like probably 2 years, right? Like I had like 100 grand saved or something when I quit my job. I was always in commission jobs. So like as a 27-year-old, like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I was also paying people to do a lot of things because I didn't think it was going to take so long. So that was a lot of the naivety on like how long it actually takes, right? And I remember calling my co-founder, who was my contractor at the time, was like, we made the sale. And so that was like another month of runway, right? I was living in Vancouver, so my burn was like pretty low. And so that was exciting. And now like that's what I tell people is like, if you were to read nothing else in your whole life, like in sales or like just as a founder, read The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs. I think I've personally been liable for like 200 copies of this. I've actually reached out to Carmine Gallo to see if he'll use our product, but like he like never responds. I'm like, I am your biggest fan. But you know, through like over 10 years of using this structure, I've kind of made it my own. Selling a product without talking to someone is a little different than selling a product when you do talk to someone. Right. The major difference is when you're in front of someone, you can react to them, right? Like if you're not a really good salesperson, you can see how they react, what they look like, and then you could change your pitch. You can maybe charm them. But if you're delivering an on-demand demo, which is like something you sign up on your own, which is what eWebinar allows you to do, you have to address all the objections before they even come up.
Yeah, that's right.
So as someone's watching your on-demand demo or the video, they have to be like nodding in their seat. Like, yeah, this is me, this is me, this is me, right? And that's why when you're the founder selling a product, you know what all those objections are and you work it into your on-demand demo. So I've actually created a workshop based on my 10 years of trials and tribulations, trying different things that didn't work. I have definitely tried this in real life and on demand. And, you know, it's a 30-minute workshop. I'll post in the show notes of this episode as well. It's we're on episode 10. So go to ProfitLed.fm, show notes of episode 10. And I talk about the 5 effective elements of an on-demand demo and how anyone can structure their pitch to that. And I even have a script template that anyone can like just click on and duplicate. It's just on Google Drive.
Yeah, it's a Google Doc.
Yeah, Google Doc. But if you follow that, you will make your first sale. I mean, if your product is good.
So what do you want to talk about the structure? I mean, I would love to know like the gist of what Steve Jobs' structure was. Like what was his like main approach, and then how that translated to the elements of how you do it now. Yeah,
I think the main thing that he talks about that is different than any other sales book I've ever read is addressing the competition up front. So most people are afraid to talk about the competition because they're like, oh, if I talk about the competition, they're going to think about the competition and then they're going to go research the competition. Your prospect already knows about the competition. Your prospect, like either you're the first of their research or they're going to go there to do their research after you, or they're using something comparable. So the thing that I learned from that I never did before was assume your prospect is already informed about the competition and address that up front so that when it comes up at the end, you can say, well, as I said in the beginning, it's like per my last email.
Right.
It's like a zinger, right? It's like per my last email, already talked about that. But that was really game changing. And you never, I mean, the thing that I changed was you never bring up the names of your competition, right? Your competition doesn't have to be a company or a person.
Right.
Your competition could be easily the state of status quo, right?
What they're doing now or what they could be doing now.
Yeah. So for us, if I'm not bringing up like, oh, other software in our space does this, right? I'm not going to name off everyone. But if it's not other software in our space, I could say, well, the behavior today is everybody does their live webinars over and over and it sucks up all their time. How we do it is X, right? This is why we exist, right? So
our competition is not only the automated webinar software, it's people doing live webinars over and over again. So that's the competition that you're addressing.
Yeah. And I'm saying this as an example of like, you don't have to be competing with a thing.
Right.
You can be competing with like the status quo of like how people do things. You always have competition.
Yeah.
Right.
It's how they're solving, as how they're dealing with the problem in the moment, whatever that is.
Yeah. So I think like the 5 effective elements, I'm gonna try to remember this. Otherwise I'm gonna look at my notes. And it's super simple. And the reason why I say it's super simple is I've given this template to so many people and they were able to write a full-on demo script right away. So the first is like, you set the agenda, right? In our 30 minutes here today, we're gonna talk about ABC. And the reason you do that is so people know what to expect so they don't interrupt you. You might want to go a bit further, like if you're doing it in person, to be like, is there anything you want to talk about today that, I'm not addressing here? So you work it into the script. So the whole purpose of that is to make sure you are not interrupted, because any great salesperson with a pitch that works has a flow, right? And the second is like you tell your story. The reason you tell your story is to build credibility. Why are you the right person to do this? And if you're not the founder, you could tell the founding story, right? Why we are the best company to do this. But all of it builds credibility, because that's you have to assume that that's what the prospect is thinking in their mind the whole time.
Right.
So you're checking off. You're checking off objection by objection by objection. And then the third is like you address the competition. What is the state of the world right now? What is the state of the world in which you exist? Why do you exist? So it's like, I'm the best person to do this because all these other things exist in our space and none of them solve the problem that we solve. And then you reveal yourself as the hero of the story. And that is the meat of your presentation. That is like your top 5 features that solve the biggest problems that your customer has. And because you already know what the competition is not doing, then you're focusing on those features. A demo is not a show and tell of every single thing that your product does. I don't need to know, if you're selling a CRM, I don't need to know how you upload a lead. I need to know the things that make this system unique that another CRM does not do, or the software I'm using does not do.
I mean, I knew that intuitively, I think, before to a degree, but now after listening to you talk about it in this way, there's nothing worse than watching someone give a demo that's just a feature checklist.
I've been on demos where people don't even like introduce themselves.
Well,
yeah, it's boring, right? You're like, oh, then you do this, and then you like tag it with this. You're like, okay,
and like, why should I care? How is it going to make my life better? The thing I like about addressing the competition too is if the person is experiencing the problem, either with other software that falls short in whatever way, or they're just experiencing the problem, they know you understand the problem.
Yeah, you're the expert.
Right.
You want to position yourself as the expert.
And then also I am, like you said, nodding along because I'm like, oh my God, that's what my life is right now. That's what's causing me pain. So then when you get into revealing the story, they're like ripe for... if you actually solve the problem, then it becomes an easy sale.
And salespeople are always like, you want to make sure when you're talking to your prospect, in their mind, they're saying yes, 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 yes. So then when you're asking for a CTA, it's yes. It's not no. It's not how about this? How about this? Have you thought about this? You want to your point, you want to position yourself as a person who's thought about everything.
Right.
The thing that I've made a bit more of mine is when you're talking about yourself as the hero, with every feature, tell a mini story. A mini story of how a customer you've had or that's using your product is benefiting from, from this feature.
Right.
It's not like, here's a scheduling feature and the scheduling feature is really dynamic and you can have a recurring schedule. Move on to the next feature. It's like, because of this feature, our customer was able to run their demos 24/7 and they never have to do them live again.
Right. And their attendance rate went up 6 times.
Yeah. Or like they're able to spend so much more time with friends and family and they're like thanking us for their first holiday.
Right.
So like something that makes people feel like I want to be that. So you're connecting them to a scenario that they can understand. Like, how does this apply to me in my everyday life?
And also, just to reiterate this, because you said it, but like, you're not demoing every feature. You're choosing your top 5. And what's the 10x feature?
Yeah.
You're the thing where you're 10 times better than anyone else. Do you want to talk about that for a second? Because I know that's
So Jason Lemkin, like he's like the godfather of SaaS, or founder of SaaStr. Yeah. He's famous for coming out with this term 10 times feature. It is the feature that you have that nobody else has.
Right.
That is the reason people switch for.
Right.
So you do not have to have feature parity, but this is the one feature that people will come to you for because it is just that good.
Right.
Right. And for us, it's our chat, because nobody else has like asynchronous chat, right? Chat that you can hop in, respond in real time, or later through email. And that's the feature that you usually save for last. And you could be like, this is the thing, like be dramatic, right? This is the thing that nothing else has, like nobody else has. And you have to be so confident about that if they go out and do their research, that they will be able to validate that point. Because the more they can validate, the more of an expert you are. Right. And as you're talking about the features and as you're talking about the competition, you can work your competition also into your hero speech, right? Your demo speech. It's like, like customers who have switched to us, was using another product and their product didn't have the scheduling feature and it caused them, this kind of pain. And if you know what the prospect is using, you kind of want to you want to poke at that a bit, right? You want them to be like, oh yeah, I have that problem.
Right.
This is how it's going to take my existing problem away from me. And of course, the last step, the 5th step, is like ask for the CTA. Like there have been demos that I've been on where people are like, yeah, and that's it. And this is again why founder-led sales is important. Is like a salesperson. Most great salespeople are high paying, or they're CEOs of their own, or they're like some high paid executive that's, at another company that you can't afford. So as a startup, you're only going to be able to afford shit salespeople, or you are the salesperson.
Right.
So this is the kind of stuff that shitty salespeople do. They present it, they do their job, but they don't go the extra mile.
Well, they don't ask for the close.
Yeah, they don't ask for the close. They're like, here it is. And then they're like, yeah, okay, well, let me know if you have any questions. Like, it's not like, can I follow up with you? What else do you need? What did you think about it? What do you think about this? Like, who else needs to see it? What's the next step? Like, is there anything you wanted to see today that, I didn't show you, right? I mean, all of these, you need to have a live person in front of you. But by the time you automate it and make it on demand, you already know what to work in. Right? That's why you want to do it as many times as possible. Like, I always say, I do sell this product, but you cannot automate anything, be it an onboarding or a training or a demo, if you are not robotic about that pitch.
Right.
Until you become a robot shouldn't do it.
Right.
But when you find yourself doing it over and over is when it's time to, switch to something like eWebinar and have it do it for you so you can spend time on doing other things.
Yeah. And also just to talk about CTAs for a minute. Like a CTA for a product like us, buy now or sign up, that makes sense, right? It's a $99 product. I mean, it's a decision you can make in the moment, right? But if it's an enterprise product, it doesn't mean you still can't have an on-demand demo. Like the CTA at the end of the automated demo is an overview of the product, maybe, and the CTA at the end is book us a call. But at the very least, you'll have people who will be like, "Oh, this isn't the product for me," right? So you're not wasting your time on unqualified leads, so that when they actually get to the salesperson and have that call, they're already that much farther down the path to actually purchasing something.
I mean, I think that the biggest misconception about a demo is it has to be a product show and tell.
Right.
And so a lot of enterprise companies, that do like custom software or like have lots of customizations, like, oh, I can't make my demo on demand. I just need to hire a bigger sales team because our demos are customized. Yeah. Well, the second demo can be customized.
Right.
But your top of the funnel demo, the thing that everyone comes into, the one that validates whether this is a good lead or not, it could be a company overview. Yeah. Like the structure that I just used about setting the agenda, like addressing the competition, it couldn't have nothing more than 3 slides of what your product looks like.
Right.
It can just be like, here's, this is our founding story. Here's like what we do different than our competitors. Here are some customer stories and testimonials. These are the types of customers that our product is good for. If you want to book a call with us, here's a calendar link. Yeah. And so now people are like validating themselves out. They're like, oh, I'm actually a bad customer. Or they're like, oh, I've watched this. I'm actually a good customer. And then the call goes directly to a salesperson who does not have to go through the first level demo.
Right. They can start at a deeper level in the conversation right out of the gate with that person. And, it really is remarkable to me, remembering that trust radius a statistic that's now up to 100% of people don't want to talk to a salesperson before making a purchase decision. When I go to a website and I'm ready to evaluate some software and I cannot see anything, oh my God, I can't see any pricing. I have to book a sales call. That to me is now crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that will change more and more. Unfortunately, it hasn't that much.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the thing is, like, when I'm searching for a product, like, put yourself in the customer's shoes, right? And I think like this is such a massive opportunity for customers that understand this, or for companies that understand this, to just open the kimono on, what you're selling. Like, let people, like, don't just let people know what the features are. Like, give them a price range, a base price, right? Let them see a video, an eWebinar. Like, let them see something.
Yeah.
And because if you're not doing it, your competitor's doing it.
Yeah.
And they're getting the next call faster than you. If I think about myself in that shoes, right? If I go to something and there's no price, I'll go and Google, like, this thing, what is the price?
Yeah.
And then like maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't come up. But then, or I'll ask my friends, what is the price? Because I don't want to waste my own time and then waste your time if I just can't afford it.
Yeah. I mean, and if it's truly like a product that like you go in, you can experience benefit immediately and it doesn't need a sales demo at all, right? The benefit is something simple. This is for teams that are for products rather that are either fully sales led or some hybrid where the product is complex enough that it requires a demo still, right? So, if you're truly a product-led company, it might not make sense to even have a demo. But if your product has any level of complexity, then you need to tell the story of your product. I'm amazed at like even these like click-through products now to like I can click through a prototype. Yeah. The thing that to me is missing about those is the story of it. Like it's leaving a lot for me to understand how the feature that I'm clicking on is going to actually bring benefit to me. And that's where I feel like the idea that every product can just be, I'm going to go look at it and see it and magically I'm going to understand its benefit and want to buy it is just not true.
Yeah. I mean, just because it's product led doesn't mean it doesn't need a demo, right? Like our product is product led. Yeah. It has a demo. I think everyone needs to see something, right? Is your product a video? Is your product a webinar, right? Is your product one-on-one? Like people need to see what, like they need to hear the story. They need to see like what it looks like. Is it user friendly? Does it look beautiful, right? Is it something that I can even see myself using?
Yeah.
I think what is really mind blowing is a lot of these product led companies say that they are a product led product and they help you with your product led system, like, and they make you get on a call. Like I actually went to a few of these like interactive demo company websites.
Yeah.
And they didn't use their own product to demo their product. And their CTA for a demo is book a call. I'm like, all over your website is you need this product if you're product led because we are the demo product, but you're not using your product to demo your own product. And so that says a lot. And you're forcing people on a call when everywhere is like, we are product led, we are product led. It's like, it's pathetic.
Yeah, I know.
We are not that company.
We're not that company.
Yeah. We don't want to do live demos for you. We want you to come to our website and hop in and demo yourself.
Yeah. I love telling people to go to our demo instead of talking to them.
Yeah. I never want to talk to them.
So what have we talked about today?
The importance of founder-led sales.
Founder-led sales, how important they are, and the feedback you get from them that if you give that to somebody else, you're never going to learn for yourself what you need to know to sell your product, and then how anyone can learn to sell. That it's a skill that can be learned. So with that in mind, what is your hot take for this episode?
I think my hot take is anybody can sell. Like anybody can learn how to sell. Learning how to sell as a founder, whether you're technical or a CEO, will be your greatest asset. You're not only selling to your prospect, you're selling at every event, every conference, right? Every networking event. You're selling to somebody, whether you're selling to a VC, prospects, customers, whoever it might be. Yeah. So read the presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs. And if you have time, like go through my sales workshop. It's only 30 minutes. I'll share it in the show notes of this episode as well, episode 10. And write a script and just get super robotic about it. Test it on people live, like test it on 100 people. And then as you get robotic, then start to automate that process and free yourself of it. But just learn it. Like you can do it.
Yeah, it's great.
What is your hot take?
Well, so people know this script template that you created is like literally fill in the blank. There's very little to do.
Yeah.
And, I think the one thing that I would just sort of emphasize, to build on what you said, is that people want to automate too early. And you really do have to understand if your message works, how to adjust it. So it's just keep repeating and iterating until you get to the robotic stage and until there's a reliable number of people who convert, right? Like it's working. You can rely on a certain level of conversion. Because when you translate that to an automated demo, you can see that conversion rate will hold. That was one of the most exciting things is when we actually incorporated everything that you'd learned, the conversion rate was effectively the same.
I think it was 5% higher after we did the improvement.
Oh, from our original demo.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I'm talking about when it was holding from you pitching to not your close connections, but when you were pitching to new people, it was having the same level of
we were also opening up the market.
Right.
Because I didn't have to talk to everybody, we opened it up to everyone. And then I started using our on-demand demo as the outreach asset.
Right.
I used it in emails and text messages and LinkedIn and whoever I could get a hold of, I was sending them that demo so that they could go in on their own. And then the good part about this is because it's standardized, they can send it to their internal teams. Right. And now you're controlling the narrative.
Right, because they see the same demo every single time.
When someone else, it's like the phone, it's like a telephone game.
Yeah, right.
When you repeat it to someone else, you're not going to have the benefits and the mini stories and the competition. Right. They're just going to be like, yeah, this is good. Well, why? Yeah, I don't remember. So you're controlling the narrative by having this one thing. And also, if you automate it, the founder or the best person who's selling it is selling it all the time. It's always the best version of that sales pitch.
Yeah. So that might have seemed like a really long hot take. Yeah. But
there was tangents we could go.
Tangents we went on. But it's repeat, improve, repeat, and then don't automate too early. Yeah. You'll know. You'll know when it's time.
And that's it for today's episode.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your friends. The only way this grows is by word of mouth. So if you think there's a friend that can benefit from our conversation, please send this to them. If there are any other topics that you want us to talk about, please send me a message on LinkedIn. My last name is spelled Kwan, Kwan. And if you like ProfitLed, please subscribe to ProfitLed on your favorite app or on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening.